parks and recreations departments for the various cities and counties around the state. The first grant has a limit of about $110,000 to it. The second grant has a limit of $350,000 to it. In considering these grants, the community surveys that we did last spring in association with the MLO effort indicated that the playground equipment and playground improvements at Prairie Heights Elementary were a very high community value and a high community priority. The playground is currently asphalt and pea gravel. Pea gravel is illegal. The insurance companies won't allow it. It has to be removed. TJ, I think there's a hard removal date of maybe January 1st of 2018. And the idea is that those play structures in the playground are so tall that if the kids fall, the pea gravel will not protect them. In order to have protection, fall mats or other kinds of engineered fall systems have to be in place under the apparatus to protect the kids. This is very expensive. We have talked with Dr. Schmidt, and we are fast-tracking a process to the 15th grant, $50,000 grant, or some portion of the $350,000 grant at the elementary school. The concept is to create a good year-round surface and play area that's safe for the children at the school. And checking with Eileen and with Grant, they're dealing with about 5 student injuries a day on the playground at Prairie Heights. So we're looking at mats, we're looking at rubber materials, we're looking at polyurethane materials that would allow us to do a number of things. Number one, have ADA, have full access to the playground and the apparatus on the playground. Probably replace the majority of the playground equipment that's there now. It's getting to be 10 years old. It's hard to replace the parts. It's getting weathered. So we're looking at making site improvements, some drainage improvements to make sure that we don't flood the playground, or if it's an impervious material that's used for the playground, that there's good drainage to carry the water away. And more importantly, we're going to undertake immediately an effort to get the kids, the families, the neighbors, the DAC, the entire community in the Rancho Midway area as heavily involved as we can, getting prices and immediately getting bids and being prepared at the next board meeting to give this community and the board a copy of the grant, a budget for what we're looking at doing, and making a grant submittal on the day after the board meeting, the 17th, to meet the grant deadlines. So, as I said, we want to be inclusionary. The City of Fountain has agreed to be a partner with the school district on this project. In order to participate in the grant, you have to be partnered with a recreation district. So the City of Fountain, with their rec program, has agreed to partner with the district. That will be a two-way street, offering and encouraging more programs for the Prairie Heights kids in basketball and soccer and volleyball and programs that City of Fountain has going on now, as well as getting City of Fountain's expertise to help us in planning the playground equipment and the kinds of features that are there. Similarly, the El Paso County has people that have expertise in ADA and how to meet all the requirements and keep all of that straight. And working with neighborhood school districts who have done playgrounds recently to be able to find out what they've learned, who their contractors were, what their good and bad experiences were, etc. So, within the board packet, I believe, is a resolution that is a draft resolution with the City of Fountain. Right now it's a discussion item. The draft resolution does make financial commitments. So between now and the next board meeting, the MLO election will be finished. We'll know where we stand with the community in terms of the MLO monies. There was a segment in the MLO narrative that addressed the playground issues and the needs, so that aligns neatly with the planning for the MLO process. These GOCO grants require that 25% of the project funding be provided by the district in this case. 10% of that is cash. The other 15% can be in-kind services. Maintenance department, preparing site, finding volunteers in the community to do work. We've talked about contacting the Army base to see if there's something they can contribute to other projects. So there'll be an intense effort to identify where we can get in-kind efforts, how much money would be involved, bring the budget forward. There'll be some planning and engineering expense to address things like site drainage. We're going to have to address all of this rapidly. We have 4 weeks to get it done. And then I will be back on the 16th of November to update you, and we will have a plan published by then and available to the community, and we're going to work very dynamically with this. We'll keep a site on the website so people can go in and see it. We'd like to get schematics developed. We'd like to have some concept plans. We'd like to actually like to have a bid and have a price by the time we come back in November. Now, I did bring quickly drawings. These are the playground drawings that exist now. The 2 yellow tags here are playground expansions that have occurred over the years. To the right, you'll see the yellow tab is the preschool playground.
Let me hold it for you so you can come around and explain. Thank you.
This is the playground area that we're talking about. The original playground for the building was about half asphalt and about half pea gravel. The pea gravel has the large play apparatus, the swings, all the bigger kid equipment on this side. The asphalt area has basketball hoops and not a lot going for it there. And then the preschool program is on the east end. In our initial discussions, the district would like to move the preschool program to the other end of the playground, put it next to the modulars so it's accessible there, and then develop the entire 16,000 square foot area into a rubberized material of some sort, fall safety, child safety, and equally important, I think, an attraction to the community, to the school. That this is something the community has really identified as something they support and want to see. So we're going to try to make it happen in 4 weeks and come back to you with ta-da, playground. Among the things we're going to ask the kids, thank you. Among the things we're going to ask the kids are, what do you like about the equipment that's here now? What other playgrounds have you been to, and what equipment did you like there? Really, this should be a kid-centered project, and so we want to get them involved. What kind of theme might they want? You could have a spacecraft theme. You can have an Old West theme. You can have basically an amusement park selection in this kind of equipment. And what kind of colors, and really involve the kids with that, but then also draw the community in. As a rural community, we've got a lot of people with tractors and takeoffs, and so we can get a ditch dug if the ditch needs to be done. We can try to enlist all of these kinds of support mechanisms, have it all in a list by November 16th, and then we will turn it in the 17th for the grant request. If the grant is approved, it will be approved in March. We are going to ask vendors as part of an RFP process to commit 2 weeks in the next summer, in June and July, to actually commit in their response which 2 weeks of June and July they would be available to get this work done, so that we get it all lined out and have this project knock out over the summer and be open for the kids August 1st next year. This is a community project because it's state funded, so we will be looking at security lighting, we'll be looking at cameras, and the playground will be accessible, say, from 7 a.m. till 9 p.m. or some extended hours for the community to use. Beyond this immediate grant opportunity, We're also going to solicit from the community input about having play fields at Prairie Heights Elementary. There's not a blade of grass out there. So we would, we'd love to have a nice grass playing field. The wind, the dust, the silty conditions out there make growing grass fall and hit with a bat and do kinds of things that they just don't have an opportunity to now. So we're going to solicit all of this input. This is a multi-year bond or grant program. If we don't submit it this year, we may submit it next year. But the idea is to bring that building up to snuff and create some really good playground equipment.
That's absolutely awesome.
And a lot of this was brought up during the strategic plan conference, that's what spurred this. That was the community talking, and this is action taken. So I spoke out of turn, I'm sorry.
Well, you're part of it. TJ's part of the team.
She's a great opportunity.
Are we still on grant opportunity?
Yes.
Is the equipment can we speak now?
Sure.
My other concern is that, as Jim said earlier, this commits to funding, and we haven't previously budgeted for this, so I would, think it makes sense to postpone it until we develop our budget.
Right, this is just discussion item tonight, so the board knows that this will be coming to them next month as an action item.
Right, and you, I believe I heard the connection's horrible, but I heard that you said you're gonna, develop a proposed budget for this and submit it in 4 weeks to the next board meeting. Regardless, in 4 weeks, we haven't started developing our budget yet, so I would make the same suggestion in 4 weeks.
Okay, the budget will be specifically for this playground project. And that's the numbers that we will bring you back, will be specifically addressing this project.
So yeah, I understand that I'm talking about the entire district budget. Our budget development process kicks off in January, and until we know how much we're gonna have to spend, I would hesitate to go forward with this in any amount of effort.
So is that we only have to match 10%. Your match is in kind, and that's where you get other individuals to help, and it's the equivalent of that dollar amount. And so we will also be able to have numbers for the board in terms of where our budget is now that we've had October count happen, and that will inform us at the next meeting, and you will know the grant's done. So we basically just put it on the shelf until next year, to the next round. So just to give you guys some, you will have all information, and you'll be making a well-informed decision at the next meeting, and if you vote yes, then it's delivered the next day. If you vote no, then it stops.
And any expenses the board incurs in developing the grant can be repaid from the grant. So assuming you go forward and they award it, you will be reimbursed any expenses you have in design and developing this.
I got 2 questions on that. During school hours, is that playground going to be locked up or nobody can go on it, but those in the school?
Yes.
It's going to have a 6-foot-high fence?
Yes.
How's it going to be open to the public then?
During school hours, it is entirely reasonable for the school district to restrict access. During non-school hours, hours will be defined for community access.
Good deal. Thanks.
This is these GOCO grants are a golden opportunity for those of you who've been here a long time, such as myself. If you take a look back across the road, that used to be a field. Thanks to GOCO and the work of the millions, Bill Rich, Hannah, myself, and a whole bunch of other folks. We have a park over there. This is the same golden opportunity that we can get for our folks out in the Prairie Heights area. And so I would encourage us to actively move out and see what we can do and not just close it down. Let's take a look at the grant. Let's see if it's feasible. Let's see if we can afford it, and then go from there.
This also leads into the bigger picture, which I already know some folks at the Rancho Midway are looking at for community center, is the idea of being able to tie into the rec center, rec department. Right now, if we wanted kids to participate in anything, they actually have to go in town for it. So if we can eventually have our own facilities, our kids have a practice location and possibly even a game location. And so that's the big vision picture, is that the fields would be one that could be for either lacrosse or soccer or football for younger kids, because we wouldn't need full size. And then we'd have both the baseball and the softball field for that. So that would provide that opportunity. The thing that drives me nuts is our kids cannot, at the elementary, they cannot all out kick a ball, they cannot all out throw a ball, they cannot try to hit a ball. What they do is they do it, and it either hits the kindergarten window or the wall, and then the parent tells them, can't kick it that hard, or don't throw the football over all the kids. So the gross motor skill development of our kids is actually being hampered, because even in PE time, we're stuck with the size of the gym. So that's why we've been looking at what we could do with that playground for a couple of years now. And so this came along, and Jim has the expertise to know how to write these kinds of things. And so that's why I wanted to bring him here, so you guys can hear what the current plan is and where the future would be going in the future.
Awesome.
So thank you, Jim, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jim. Is there any other discussion from the board? Hearing none, let's move to 8.03, superintendent and board goals. The floor is open for discussion.
Well, I originally put this on here because each year for the superintendent evaluated, there is supposed to be goal setting, and I believe our policies even say something about a certain time frame that goals have to be posted on the website. And so, since that hasn't happened yet, I thought we should put it on this agenda, start talking about what would be goals that the board sees for me that I should be achieving this year, and then what are some goals that the board is also looking at for achieving. We don't have to do it specifically, it can be general, but we do have policies that say it has where we currently have a policy around what are the goals of the board for finances, what are the goals of the board for, it has a couple other areas. It's always the first, second, or third policy in each section. So I wanted to first find out, what are your goals for me, so I know what I'll be evaluated against, and we can discuss it now and maybe finalize it next time, or it'll be finalized tonight, but we need to open the door and go there.
I'll start. I don't know if it's a goal or a compliment, maybe a little bit of both. But myself personally, I'm huge on community, and that was kind of one of my platforms, is bringing the two sides together. So I just want to commend you and say thank you, Dr. Schmidt, for getting the ball rolling, for planning something over there as far as the field, the practice fields, and all of that. I really hope that that works out, because I think it would be a huge benefit, not just to our students, but to the entire community. So I guess my goal would be let's keep that a priority and see how we can move forward, and then also thank you for thinking of that and seizing this opportunity. I think that'll be huge.
So how would you word that as a goal?
Community relations. Continue to develop and strengthen community relations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Continue to develop and strengthen. That's a good point. Community relations. All right, that's one. That's a good one. Anybody have any objection to that? Go.
Yeah, I think I want to chime in when I get a chance.
Go.
I think, from my perspective, again, we need to formalize this and socialize it some more. This is just me. I think one of those the superintendent is, obviously to keep doing the good things that you're doing with respect to raising test scores. I'd like to see those continue to go up personally. We need to also, my standard key system, we need to sort all that out. I know you're going to tell me it's a work in progress. But mature, I guess. Another goal that I would say is, finish the strategic plan and start putting some of those things into action. And also the communication plan, finish that and publish that and start, putting that into action across the board. Those are the top of my head.
Randy, I'm sorry, could you repeat what you said right before communication? The test scores,
Strategic plan,
I'm sorry?
Strategic plan.
Strategic plan, thank you.
plan,
Thank you, sir.
then finish that and put it into action, and then the same thing with the communication plan.
So Randy, I've got 3 goals that you've added. The first one I would paraphrase, can you continue to increase academic achievement across the board or throughout the district? Does that sum that up?
Like growth and.
Yes.
All right, growth and achievement,
Yes,
okay. The second one is to continue to develop and publish the strategic plan
Action.
and implement.
and the other one is the same thing, develop and implement the communications plan.
Okay. I've got those 4. Other goals? I would like to see one that manages, develops and manages a budget. And I'm looking for a good, worse than just a good sound budget. That supports all educational processes without going into the red.
Develop and manage.
Yep. Develop and manage,
Non-deficit spend.
there you go, develop and manage a non-deficit spending budget. Mike, I know that's one of your key things, is that okay?
Once you start spending more than you got, you'll never stop.
That's correct.
And the credit cards keep coming.
Is that worded appropriately?
Yeah, yeah.
You want to add
I'd
to
like
it?
to hear some from the community too, so.
I just have a comment, that's not how you do a budget anyways. You do, I mean, you can't form a good budget if you have the money and know I have the money in the right spot. If you don't use POs, which I know you guys do, because I'm the one that set that up here, and you all also don't go in the negative. The reason why you do, and not egregiously, let's just put it this way, egregiously I understand, but let's say supplies for toilet paper and supplies for trash cans, and I know those are not budget items, but individually, but if you know you got $500 and you split $250 to each, well, there's more butts in here than there are trash cans, so obviously you're not gonna get the $250, so you would have to take $200 from the trash bags to put them over to the toilet paper.
I think
But
that,
that's how you convert it, you'll not have one that doesn't go in the
yeah,
negative.
the piece here is that we're
Line
talking total, we're
The
talking
end
total
budget.
budget, annual budget, not individual line items within.
Our
We know
budget-
that we can shift between accounts, and that one account may be.
Our budget was
I wanted it to be
actually-
more clarified, because the way it was spoken was, you can never go over that budget, well, that doesn't work for anybody that
So
knows
we
how to
need
do
to have the words
budget.
annual budget in there.
Yes, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Good point.
It's an annual and amended budget, because that's mid-year.
Annual and amended budget. Okay.
Retaining the quality staff.
I was just about to ask a question about it.
Recruit and retain quality staff?
I would like to retain them. I wouldn't have to want to recruit them anymore. But yeah, recruit and retain would be fine with me.
And Dr. Schmidt, you and I, had earlier this school year, had talked about some different ideas. As far as the job fair in Pueblo, do we ever, I mean, how did that, what were the results of us?
So we went to the job fair at UCCS,
Okay.
and we got a reasonable number of folks who came by us and submitted their applications. Some of those individuals were actually interviewed in our openings that we had, but nobody that we hired came out of the job fair. I think we had higher quality candidates who we interviewed. I'm looking at Danelle, make sure for over here, I think that's the case, you know. So we'll continue to be a part of that. we need to expand and do something in Denver as well. Not Denver, up at UNC.
There are two, there
And there's a
are
big one
actually,
in Denver.
there are actually two major teacher recruiting fairs in the state. One is at Metro up in Denver, and the other one is at UCCS, and it's held here in Colorado Springs. And they are back-to-back. One's on a Friday, one's on a Saturday. So if you have a recruiting team, they do one, then they go up and do the next one. Usually the Denver one is on Saturday. It's going to be March 24th and I think the 25th this year. That's run by the CASPA organization out of Case. And so you'll be able to take a look at when those are. Pueblo has one, but those are run by the local college down there, and they're not as well attended, and there's not as many candidates. The largest number of candidates you can get are those two. You can also go to Greeley, but that's normally where you go for special education staff, because that's predominantly what they produce.
And we have started a relationship with CSU Pueblo. They came out and did a field trip. They brought 30 or 40, either alumni from the program or potential student teachers, those who are student teaching now. And they came by our building, they came by Ellicott. Did they come by Ellicott?
Yes, they did.
And they came by Miami Yoder. And what they're trying to do is, CSU Pueblo, is to try to encourage their students to consider a rural school for student teaching. And then in that case, you hope they stay, or they do well enough and there's a job. We've trained them to agree.
Awesome.
So we have a little pipeline starting there. It's a very early program, but it's good to be there at the start.
Sure. Other goals? Okay, looks like we have a slate.
So then what I'll do is, the next step is to create actionable. How is the goal actionable? In other words, what's the measure to say that the goal's been attained? So, you just have the goals, so I know the areas of focus, that I can start working, and we can come up with something next meeting on the actions. Actionable? Okay.
All right. Any other discussion on that item?
Can we add things to it later if we figure something out, like within the next week or so?
Yeah.
I would say just shoot him to the superintendent, and he can shoot them out to all the board members.
Okay.
Is that okay, guys? All right, that brings us to 8.04, policy ACE-1. And as we had indicated, we will take any comments from the community. Is there any comments on ACE-1, 8.04?
It's just changing names.
Yep. So we move that to second read. Is there a majority here? We don't have to vote on it, we just have to have a nod of heads.
Yep. Yes.
Okay, so we'll move 8.04 to second read. 8.05 ACE-1. Any comments from the community? None. What about board members?
Changing names, go ahead and move it.
Can we move this to second read? Yes? Okay. Randy, are you hearing all this?
Yeah, I'm a little bit delayed. I'm watching it on the live stream. I have no comments on the rest of the 8 dots.
Okay. All right. The 8.06, non-discrimination on the basis of sex. Comments?
Name change.
Name change, okay. So that will be a move forward, agreed? Okay. 8.07, IHCDA, concurrent enrollment revision. First read. Are there any comments?
Is this something we're gonna look at every year then? Or is it something that the superintendent looks at? Is it a budgeted thing? Now that we're finally changing this after 3 years?
Yes, it will be
We've
a
been
budget.
screaming about this for 3 years now?
I would like to see what part of this is one I was talking about.
Could somebody give us a brief description of the
Just,
changes?
Transportation cost, this is in the transportation. concurrent enrollment, and basically the only, well, not basically, the only change in here is under transportation costs, it currently says that the school does not provide transportation to students.
Oh,
But we
okay.
all know it's been going on for
Yeah.
how many years?
6 years.
So, and I know about it for 4 that I've been trying to get this thing changed.
Well, I'd like
So
to
is
make
it-
a change on it.
So now it says the school district is not required to, but may provide transportation to the institution of higher education. Each year, the district will determine the feasibility of providing transportation.
So in other words, in the budget process in the spring, when the board approves the budget in June, we will know at that time whether or not we will be able to feasibly afford that or not. So students will know before the start of the school year.
So does this outline the years that they can actually take it? Because there's a lot of confusion in our
Each year.
community.
Each year.
Well, I'm talking about that my student is a sophomore, he can't go to concurrent
No,
enrollment.
Terry, that's what
but-
I'm gonna make I wanna change that, I wanna make
Because
recognition
it used to be
changes.
junior and senior.
I wanna
for-
recommend it change. If I have a student come in as a freshman that is a qualified student, that can go to these classes, that is top of the class, I recommend that we put it in there, that student can go. 4 years they can go. If we can stick them in there, stick them in there. There's nothing wrong with it.
I would suggest that we check with Pikes Peak Community College to see what they will take and matriculate
I think
first.
there's a 16-year-old limit.
I do believe there is an age limit, and so that would prevent almost all of our sophomores, very few of our sophomores are 16 at the time it starts.
Does this also say we can't send them to Ellicott though?
Yeah,
Ellicott
Can't
is
send
not,
them to-
Ellicott's not concurrent enrollment, and we'll take all the students who want to send
Okay.
to us.
So, but.
Edison.
Pardon me for saying
Edison.
that. For those of you who don't know, I'm the principal of the Ellicott High School, and we do have
Yeah.
Hanover students that are working in the welding program to get welding certificates.
And
because we have
construction.
And construction,
Right.
because we have 2 very good programs up there.
Right.
And in case you don't know, Peyton is putting together a trade school that is going to be the trade school of trade schools for everybody in this area. And we're all kind of looking to see what's coming next, because they have a wood shop that makes intricate cabinetry. I mean, it's unbelievable what they can make out of that wood shop, and they're taking kids in from everywhere to move into that. So these are programs that region-wide we're looking, because the recognition is not every kid wants to go to college. All right, some kids want to get a welding certificate.
Makes more money.
Some kids want to do auto mechanics or diesel mechanics. And we need, everybody knows we need all those. So we're trying to take a look at that and focus that across the board. So these concurrent enrollment programs are excellent. And if we can transport them, I would always say, you know, let's do it and get them there if we can. But like I said, it is a policy, and he's got that there. But I think for your age thing, I think we ought to check with Pikes Peak and see what the age limit is.
I think what you're gonna find with Pikes Peak is that they're gonna have a concern with the students meeting the basic prerequisites to get into the regular classes. And you'll also find that through some of the programs like the early colleges, those kind of students with their charter schools and things, they have students that are even younger than 15 that have demonstrated that they can meet those requirements. And so they may have to do the prerequisite testing that's required of every student, but you may not have a problem with that at younger ages.
That would be the AccuPlacer. Those individuals will fall under the GT program and would be duly recognized, and those recommendations would be highly supported at that point, I would assume. Isn't that right?
So if they did,
Isn't that right?
That's right.
is that right, they'd be recognized, those students? if they-
Talented and gifted.
Talented.
Not necessarily,
No.
because actually, as you know, that placement exam is not necessarily an exam of giftedness, it's just an exam of aptitude and
No,
capability.
I said that those individuals that may want to attend a concurrent and make enrollment program and feel that they are capable, which are normally identified in the young grades, the freshmen, sophomores, as those individuals who are in your GT programs and carry those grades, and we understand that, then they would have to meet the prereqs of taking the AccuPlacer and everything else that goes with it.
Right, and the research on grade acceleration is very strong, that if you allow that capability, it's best for the child. So this is a form of great acceleration that child could potentially, but what we need to find out is CSU Pueblo is starting to create a campus, CSU Colorado Springs. And they have started to approach saying they will also offer concurrent courses at a low price. And what we need to find out is for them, if they're gonna have an age limit or what it might be, because these policies are written strictly just high speed community college.
And whatever it is that you do decide, can we just make sure that that information gets to parents and students? All parents, all students?
We're gonna put it in a box, and if you can find the box, you'll get the answer.
At least give us the direction.
Does it feel
to
like
the-
that sometimes?
Mom, make it a Pokemon
Well,
game.
can we
Okay,
make it
maybe
like
have
a
a
standard
parent
that us parents, like my son is gonna be a junior next year, I'd like to know what his opportunities are. I
Right.
just found out that we had welding going on out there. Do you know how much welders make? My husband's a welder. We make good money. That's the things we wanna do for stuff. So, I mean, to me, I
Juniors
just
had-
found it out through the
The
grapevine.
reason you never found out is because juniors had priority and we only had 2 slots. It was filled that quick. But that's why I'm saying I think we need to make this available to all. If they're capable, it should be to all.
Well, if we had,
And I
how do we
agree.
increase the
Otherwise
slots?
Shane would have made it, but he was low on the totem pole.
Well, I didn't even know about it today. I arm wrestled you.
Gotta let you arm wrestle.
But can we have maybe a parents
Right now, you
meeting
wouldn't
explaining
What's available?
what's available, like at the end of the year
Yeah.
or something, have a whole parent?
Absolutely.
I agree.
Can we
Because
put
high
something in the
school
handbook?
kids tend to not take.
Can we just put something in the handbook that says?
Yeah.
We're going to
These popped in so late that the kids were fighting for them the first month. And the man can tell you, I mean, those kids, the very first month, didn't even know if they were gonna go. And then finally, all of a sudden, we had it moved in where we sent them up there.
But before
I think
even it
they're
goes
6,
to the
right?
kids, it should be addressed to everybody
Right.
fairly and equally.
Right.
So,
And it was,
what-
the kids were asked, I don't know if they asked mom and dad, but I know Miss Van asked all the kids because there was a list.
So what else are you looking to change on here, Ed?
The answer you-
Well, we need to find out what
is we're gonna
Pikes
do all
Peak's
the
gonna
registration in the spring.
Honor whether they will, and then if Pueblo's not in there.
I think we have one of those important things where we should have a work session on this.
Chuck, did you have, a work session would be a good idea.
It was just, it kind of went into them. I've been here 2 years. I know nothing about this concurrent enrollment or what is
We're really
it.
off topic right
How
now.
and where do I find this out? So that I may say, okay, hey, do my kids want to do this? How do I find this out?
They will. It's in the high school.
But I think maybe it's a good idea to even include the junior high parents just to, so that they know
I agree.
what to
Expect.
expect to possibly get their kids so that they're to that point.
Can we talk about this in other business and figure out what we want to change on this? I don't want to ignore you guys. I want you guys to know, it's just,
First read.
we talked about it at our retreat, and we're going to follow it, Dagan.
It's,
So-
it's first read.
I understand that, but that's not part of the policy that we're wanting to change. What it is we're talking about what information's out there for other kids.
Well, there's an addition, Ed wants to add another addition to
Well,
it.
and I asked him for that like 3 minutes ago.
What I can do for you, because you wanted to add, of course, the board has to go with this, but I can provide, Danelle and I can provide within a matter of probably 3 or 4 work days what CSU Pueblo is going to have as an age limit, if anything, what Pikes Peak information is.
Please.
That will inform your request of an edit, so in the second read, you guys can either say, no, we can't, or yeah, it's available, what do we want to do? How's that sound?
Sounds great to me.
Okay. Will we move what's there to a second read? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. The board so directs. That brings us to 8.08, public concerns and complaints.
I'm new, can somebody tell me what the procedure is for public concerns?
That's what's in front of us now.
Okay, are they making a new policy for it? What does the current policy say?
This is actually just going to be an exhibit, it's going to be what you fill out
Oh.
to make a grievance, it's in the KE section of the policy.
So it would be a form, so if a public person had a concern, they would just Find
Yeah.
the form.
right here in the
Okay.
KU program, and you just start filling it out, and if it has to go to the AD, then the AD will sign off, then Ms. Vanessa will sign off, the superintendent will sign off. If you're still not happy, then it comes to the board, and all that's spelled out on the form. That's really all we're looking at here.
Yeah, because there wasn't one before, so that's why they're adding.
Okay.
Okay. So we're gonna move that forward to second read?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, the board so directs. 8.09, policy DJA, purchasing and purchasing authority, open for discussion.
Want
Randy?
me to chime in?
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
yours.
Yeah, so basically all this is saying, for those items that are not, those items or projects that are not specifically budgeted, and I'll give you a hypothetical here in a minute, over the cost of $5,000, or those things that are cross line items, whether they're cross funds or not, over $5,000, anything that's not budgeted or anything that has to be bidded, the superintendent should get approval from the board before making those purchases, those expenditures. That's basically what it's saying.
Okay, can I ask you a question, Randy?
You may.
Okay, it's currently set at 12,500. We went through this last year and did it so that we could have the budgeting process and the superintendent could have the appropriate authority he needed to do his job. Is there something that has gone wrong, or what is the particular reason and nemesis for going backwards and back from 12,500 down to 5? Can I finish, please? Down to
I don't
5,000.
think it's backwards, but it's not. See, if the bidding number and the payment number, I'm not actually at this point in time proposing to change. I just added DJ, which talked about the authorization of purchases that are not clearly budgeted. So, and here's my hypothetical example. Let's say next year there's a line item in the budget that talks about football field illumination. And the superintendent finds a great deal on lights, and he wants to buy lights for the football field, and let's say, first of all, the budgeted line item is, I don't know, pick a number, $20,000. He finds lights for $10,000, and he wants to go buy these lights. Well, guess what? He does not need to get our approval because it's clearly budgeted football field illumination, and he's buying lights. So this change here would not come into effect because it's clearly budgeted. It doesn't cross line items or funds. Now, suppose that there is no line item in next year's budget that says football field illumination, but he comes upon a great deal, and he finds some extra money in this fund, or this line item, extra money in this line item, and wants to go purchase these. What we're saying, what this policy is saying, is since it's not clearly budgeted for these types of expenditures, you need to get the board's approval before he does so. That's all it's saying. So if it's not clearly budgeted, and it's over $5,000, he needs to get our approval.
But his current authority, whether it's budgeted or not, is 12.5, is that correct, Dr. Smith?
That's correct. I didn't quite catch all that.
I said that his current authority based on policy that we've already set is 12.5.
No, the current policy just talks about whether or not he can actually pay the bill. There is no current policy restricting purchase. It's only payment. It's after the horse has left the barn. He just has to get our approval to make the payment, not to make the purchase.
That would be definitely an example of,
You're fine.
that would be an area of concern for the board because that would be operating outside of that policy, right? Because if it's above 12.5, it requires board approval. So I would not buy something, have it arrive, and then come to the board and ask for approval. Over 12.5 right now. Right, that's why it would be a problem if if it happened over 12.5.
But also, it's not an issue at all on the purchasing part if it's clearly budgeted.
But what about those emergencies that aren't budgeted? You know, let's talk boilers, tractors, propane systems, all of these other areas where I mean, and we discussed this when we changed it and moved it up to 12.5, why we needed to do this. So what I'm trying to figure out is what is necessitating us changing that down to, if it's not budgeted, it's got to be 5,000 or less for him to be able to execute. When we clearly said in another policy, it's 12.5. I'm wondering why. What's the reasoning behind it?
The reasoning behind it, because we have to make sure, especially, and I hate to drop these three letters, but if the MLO doesn't pass, we need to be really tight on funds. Hell, we need to be tight on funds even if the MLO passes. And again, none of this is an issue if it's a clearly budgeted item. This is not a vote.
But I'm still concerned about the emergencies.
The board approves the budget, and that's the superintendent's authority to purchase. But if there's something he wants to purchase that's not in the budget or not clearly budgeted, and it's a great opportunity, and we happen to have the money, that's the kind of situation that I'm talking about.
I guess what Matt's trying to get to is, have I violated that policy? And if it has not
No, I don't
been,
think you have, not at all.
right.
That's
That's just what he's trying to ask you.
I don't think anybody's done anything wrong. I just think that, one of the major responsibilities of the board is fiscal control. And quite frankly, I don't think we're doing a good enough job of it. I think we need to be more involved.
Well, after we went through all this last year, I would say that I believe that we're doing it okay. There haven't been any issues or concerns. And we review expenditures every month, and anytime there's a major expenditure, the superintendent does in fact contact us. And at this point in time, I don't, it's up to the board to move this forward if they want to, but I would say that I don't believe that this is necessary, in that we are following budgetary requirements, we are doing it incredibly well, and that there is no reason for us to put limits. We raised these limits last year. So, I mean, that's my feedback.
It's an apples and oranges thing. We raised the limits on what needs to be bid and what the board needs to approve to pay, not what the board needs to approve to purchase. So we're not lowering anything. We're changing our point of control. And like I said before, I'll stop talking here in a second, is that a constraint on how much a bill can be for him to get our approval to pay it is irrelevant. But he's already written the check or already committed to the funds.
And that's where I'm saying is if I was to commit to funds, then that would be an inappropriate act on my part, so that's where you take action.
So you have a bidding number, right? So you take something out for bid. Okay, and you sign a contract. Well, then we're committed to paying those funds. And all of the DK, all DK says is you have to have our approval to pay it. But at that point in time, you've already put out the contract. I'm not faulting you at all, Dr. Schmidt. This is
I hear you. I was clarifying what
not
the
an
question was.
infringement on you whatsoever.
Okay, well, what does the board want to do with this piece? I don't think it's necessary. I think we have enough trust and faith in our superintendent and ourselves and our treasurer, who does an outstanding job, that this is not necessary. But what does the board want to do? we want to take the changes that have been sent to
I
us.
want to move it to a second read and a vote.
Okay,
I said we would second read, vote yea or nay, whatever you want on it.
okay.
Move it
I
and
would disagree, and you would,
I think it's fine.
Mr.
Did you say
Swayze?
what?
I think that's fine as I read through it. I mean,
So it's fine, you want to go forward to another read, to second?
No, as what we currently have.
In other words, you're saying you do not move it forward.
Right.
That's not the one.
No, it's the other one. Oops, wrong one.
Take 10 seconds to vote on it next month.
See, these, I think you and the superintendent do a good job.
I agree.
So-
Okay, you guys have gone silent. Where are we at?
Yeah, really, they have gone silent.
We're waiting.
Because I was reading.
Waiting on
making
Ed.
sure I
Ed
wanna-
is reading.
Because I'm the tiebreaker right now. It's 2-2, whether we move it forward or not. Give me a break.
Are we still in discussion?
We are.
I would say if you want the mill levy to pass, or at least help in your endeavor for that, I would move it forward.
Bring it forward.
Sure.
All right, we'll bring it forward.
Randy, Ed just said he wants to bring it forward, but he wants to get with you for an explanation.
Randy?
Did you copy?
Well, I was going to say, say again?
He said that, Ed said move it forward for a vote, but he wants to talk to you about the reasons why.
Okay.
So that'll be offline,
Sure.
between two board members and not three,
No, 2.
okay? All right, that moves us to 8.110, policy BEDB.
Jimmy?
When I tried to print it, it came out 18 So Mike, I don't know if you.
Where are they?
Just for everybody out here, BEDB is the current agenda that we're following. What we want to do is we want to, down in here in 10.0, we have District Accountability Committee updates. It's 10.06,
Right.
okay? What we want to do is we want to actually make that an 8.0 item, because again, if you read, state law says DAC reports to the board. So we want to hear what the DAC has come up with, because you have your meetings before the board. So we would like to hear your comments on non-policy, on the non-policy portions of the meetings. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So we want to move 10.06 and make it 8.0, then 8.0 will become 8.0, or 9.0, 9.0 will become 10, 10 will be 11, 11 will be 12, 12 will be 13, and
And if the deck
everything just
doesn't have
slides
a
down
report,
one.
then it would just be no report, just like we had no student performances tonight, is that correct?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
It'll always be on the agenda so that you're still the DAC president.
Actually, Irene.
Irene's the DAC president this year? Okay, so basically the DAC president, you would come up and give us your report. Like if we charge you to contact, just like we were just talking at the retreat, get each of you to contact 10 community members on another policy arming the staff. Just an example, okay? We want you to do that type of legwork because really that's your charter. That's what you're there for. You're the district accountability and we want to hear from the community, but we don't want to take 90 minutes here. We will listen to people that are here if you haven't already given the DAC your report. Does that make sense? So we're not trying to keep you from talking. We just don't want to listen to 30 people here when you can do it to the DAC and we can do it to the thing. And we want to hear the DAC before we vote or discuss any of these items.
No, that sounds.
So that's all we're looking to change on BEDB.
That's awesome.
Did you hear all that, Randy?
And I was
Yeah, I
able
know
to
that.
download your doc, because when I printed out the Google Doc, it came blank. So I just
Okay,
downloaded it.
I'll have to get with
Irene's-
Tamara and get it.
Irene's getting it now, though.
Okay, I'll have to just get a format, all the, like,
I already have them for him.
I know, but I don't. So if you can give them to me, I can make the changes for you?
I already did it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So there's, move that one forward, yes?
Yes.
You got a yes all the
Yes.
way down? The board so directs.
And that was one of the things we discussed at the retreat downtown that we had Saturday.
Yes. Okay, that brings us to 8.11, BEDH, Bravo Echo Delta Hotel.
BEDH.
That's striking
Oh,
immediately.
that's striking the word immediately and putting at the end of the speaker's time. Because technically, if you're up there speaking, every time somebody here answers your question, I have to hit the stop button on your 3 minutes. So then it could take 20 minutes to give, kind of like watching the last 4 minutes of football. Okay? So what we want to do is we want to hear what you have to say. And if you have answered, or if you have questions for us, we want you to ask the questions. We'll be happy to answer, but we're going to wait till the end of your 3 minutes, let you speak, and then we'll do that. So that's all we're changing, striking the word immediately and putting at the end of the speaker's time.
So, any other discussion? Shall we move forward with this one? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so the board so directs. 8.12, the school board policy process.
Okay?
There's a, part of that paragraph is one where they're requesting information from the DAC on every issue, and the word reads shall.
Where's that?
In your proposed change, you put a paragraph in there with the proposed
Right.
change about the DAC.
Uh-huh.
If you'll see it as it goes forward, it says the board shall.
Right?
Okay, I would like to suggest that we turn that to may and have, with the consensus of five, 3 or more board members to move forward to request a DAC for information, because I think there are some issues that are so trivial that it wouldn't warrant, trying to get the DAC to go forward and having to wait on those. Armed staff, heck yeah, we should have the DAC, we should have everybody on the planet involved in that. Future grant opportunities, that's a good one for the DAC to take a look at and say, yes, we need to do these things. But, there may be some that are just not at that level. And I would say that if we leave it in there, but change the word shall to may, that gives us the opportunity to go through and do that. Are
Who
you
makes
okay with that?
decision though?
I agree, yes, but even the way it's worded is the board shall take action only after hearing recommendation of the superintendent and the report and findings of the community through the DAC, and this is only on non-policy issues, not policy, this is non-policy. But like we were saying earlier, you guys do the non-policy and then we'll still listen for the policy. It says the board shall take action only after hearing recommendations of the superintendent and the reported findings of the community through the DAC report or other forms of communications listed. So again, you can contact the DAC, and basically what it says in here is you can call us, you can email us, you can shoot us a text, you can stop by the house, whatever. You don't have to go to the DAC. You can still come to the board if that's your choice, but we prefer you go to the DAC because that's what we're asking them to do. I agree, Mr. McPherson, on the shall and the may.
All right, thank you.
I would like,
Go ahead.
I would like to leave the shall in there because you can take action. And it only takes 3 seconds to vote, well, maybe 5 to 10 seconds to vote, and you call a roll call.
Well, I think the expectation is that we're going to ask for that information to come to the board to discuss something. So, here's what I'm envisioning. Maybe I'm just thinking it wrong, okay? And if I am, please feel free to correct me. I'm thinking that we're, collectively, talking about, let's say a park out there at Prairie Heights, and there are a few small issues that may or may not warrant discussion at another level. We have the opportunity, we don't have to call the DAC. The superintendent doesn't have to call the DAC and say, contact 10 people on this issue the board's going to talk about at their next meeting.
Oh, are you talking about the first shall?
I'm talking about during discussion of a non-policy proposal,
Okay,
the board, and I'm saying.
you want to change that to may.
I don't want to change that to may.
I thought you were talking about the second one. I agree, we can do that.
That's.
We can
that's-
change
Yeah, I concur.
We can change that first shall to may.
Okay, and that's,
Can I just say something? Sometimes things come to Dad after the fact. So is there any way that we can just improve that communication piece where you guys are seeing something and then it comes to Dad?
I would be happy to get with this, would you like me to do that as the board secretary? If we have something, Amber can get with me, I can get with Irene, or you guys can.
So you know, we intentionally scheduled that this year to be the week after a board meeting, so if the board
I
has.
thought it was the week before the board meeting.
We changed it this year.
Okay, so we
The
can,
direction can come right to them.
right from the board meeting.
Right, and they meet the next week.
Okay, so then what we would do is we would charge you tonight with what we need
Yes.
next month.
Okay.
Yes,
And then we would get your report at 8.0 at the beginning of the meeting.
absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So,
Because a lot of the problem is just not knowing and.
so that'll
you know,
work. I think that should fix the problem.
Okay.
Okay, so with that modification, just one word changing that shall to may.
Yes, and I already changed it on mine.
Can we move that forward for consideration second read?
I say yes.
No objection.
Okay, so the board so directs. All right, so that takes us all the way through the discussion items, and now we go to action items. First action item is 9.01, it's the second read on approved policy GBEB, staff conduct, second read. Do I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion that we approve 9.01 GBEB. Second.
Okay,
Randy, I just want to make,
quick discussion.
Randy, is that, what we have in our packet, is that?
We have a second?
Yes, first and second.
I didn't hear the
Okay,
second.
we got a second.
My question for you, Randy, is that
Yeah,
addressed?
so let me chime in real quick. So after hearing the compelling debate from the superintendent last month, I no longer feel the need to have this policy change.
Okay. So, as the individual, shoot, I'm gonna be honest with you, there are a couple ways to handle it if you're indicating as the individual who submitted this forward. Since it's here, we can vote, or we can, and I think we should just call for the vote at that point then, but your recommendation is to not abide by it then and to just let it drop.
Well, the superintendent's point was that this is already covered by other clauses and is unnecessary.
Okay. Well then, with that, is there any other discussion? So a nay vote leaves it in its original context, just for information purposes. Can I get a call for the vote, please?
Mr. Allen?
Nay.
Mr. McPherson?
Nay.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Lawson?
Mr. Wilson?
Mr. McPherson?
Nay.
Mr. Swayze?
Nay.
Mr. Underwood?
No.
Okay. Does not pass. 9.02, final approval of policy JKE, student discipline exhibit, second read.
And make sure when you're looking at this exhibit, we cleaned it up as you guys had wanted. Because pretty much that asterisk, you guys wanted out after the last board meeting. And so it should be removed in here.
Do we have a motion?
Oh, I do not have a motion,
Sorry.
we just put it out there and I'm waiting for the motion.
I'll make a motion to approve JKE.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Mr. Lawson. Discussion?
I still don't like it.
Now, Grant, you were saying?
I wanted to make sure you see that I made the correct changes, because if I remember right, it was just the asterisk item. So, and then we added in the loss of privileges, including transportation.
That's currently the only change proposed to this, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I'm making sure it's in here.
We have a comment, and this is a policy, so we will take a comment from the floor, recognizing Ms.
Carrie
Cynthia
Young.
Williams. Yes, ma'am.
I have asked that there be some adjustments to the policy for student discipline and the exhibit. I communicated them to Ms. Van Esselstein. I would like to add a 5th level. There was many discussions in our parent, and I would like to, the board take that into consideration before they definitely approve this policy, because I would like to see that a level 4 be added for alcohol distribution, or I'm sorry, level 5, alcohol distribution, firearm with intent to harm, the really serious ones, I would like them to be automatic recommendation for expulsion for those items. I would like to, there are several points that I would like to be involved with as a parent, and I know that there's parents right behind me that were at these meetings. We had a lot of discussions of this, and we definitely would like to wait, and let's put our 2 cents worth in. Yeah, I would just ask that the board wait and let us try to tweak this with our
So
recommendations.
as a reminder to the board and for Terry as well, I don't know if you were at the last board meeting, we mentioned how our swarm committee is going to meet every quarter, so we're planning a meeting to come up here in the next couple of weeks before the November board meeting, and to see, based on the parent input, to see.
Is it silent? Can I?
No, wait, Randy.
I'll shout. Really, the idea, just a reminder procedurally, this is pretty much just to change the consequences because of the possible consequences. I mentioned at the last board meeting that we're gonna have a swarm committee meeting, the ones who came up with this. We'll review the current data that we have, how well it's working, and then also the parent recommendations from the meeting. And then we'll either bring it forward at the November board meeting if that committee so feels we need to do it right away, or we'll bring it up at least sometime in the next couple of board meetings. Because I don't know yet what the data shows or what the students. However, we will definitely look at the parent input, and I know the parent input was to change some things, so those will be emphasized as we really need to consider these things.
So what you're saying, Dr. Smith, is that we're already gonna be looking at this again next November, or in next month?
What we're gonna look at next month is possible changes on the level front because of some scenarios that came up. And so yes, it may come to you guys. It will definitely come before the end of the year because we're in basically a pilot mode.
Can we table this and bring it up with the changes next month and then vote on it as still a second read?
So the changes on here were just to add under each one, and I notice it's not there, the privileges should say transportation.
Right.
And that's it.
So again, can we table this, get with the community, make the changes, and still read it as a second read next month and pass it and be done with it?
We can.
You can.
I make a motion that we table this until next
Who made
month.
the original motion?
What I think Grant's saying is that
I made the motion
based
to
on how things
approve
go,
it.
he may not have specific changes ready for the next board meeting.
Correct.
Yeah, so, again, the original intent of bringing this forward was to just change the language with respect to loss of privilege of transportation. And as I've been reminded many times regarding our new discipline system, it is a work in progress and we are tweaking it. And I think the superintendent's working with the community and the parents to tweak it further. So, I don't think we should table this because he needs the loss of privilege for transportation in there until such time as we have other changes.
I'll withdraw my motion to table,
Okay.
as long as Dr. Schmidt agrees to work with the community and get this done, and come back to us as soon as possible.
Yep.
Okay, so
So we
I think
started
it's
the
something we need to
conversation,
do.
and now we're looking for the action.
we have a second read, and the motion is on the table to approve as submitted. And we understand that there will be further work, and we will see this again. Any other discussion? Can I get a call for the vote, please?
Mr. Allen?
Aye.
Mr. Lawson?
Aye.
Mr. McPherson?
Aye.
Mr. Swayze?
Aye.
And Mr. Underwood?
Aye.
Brings us to 9.03, approve policy JII, student concerns, complaints, and grievances. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve JII.
Is
Second.
there a second? It has been moved and seconded. Discussion?
Nothing new for me.
Randy, this is great stuff. I under the, why wouldn't we include all students instead of just those who have an IEP? Because this paragraph is,
The original language was students who are underage and all students who have an IEP. And we had some discussion to tweak that language a little bit, and I don't necessarily like the way it reads right now, but I think it supports my original intent.
I read it to read all students or the students of age who have an IEP.
Right.
When I read it, that's parents/guardians of underage students or of students of age who have an IEP. I read it to include all students.
Well, remember, this is the student complaint process, student
Right.
grievance process.
But it's an underage student that can't sign a
So all
contract.
students can grieve under this process.
right,
But I just want there to be a clause for students who aren't necessarily capable of making a grievance for themselves, to have the parents do it for them. That was the intent of this.
That would be KEE that we just KEE was just moved forward tonight. And that's actually, so a parent can file a complaint involving their student through KEE.
I think that complaint is for the parent to complain on their own behalf as well, is it not? I don't know, when I read it, it hits me as we're targeting a special population, and I don't know that our policies need to be that restrictive in targeting populations. They need to be for all students, and I think it reads that way to begin with. And so,
Yeah, but this is for parents to grieve under this process for the student.
For underage students or students with an IEP.
If you want all parents of all students to be able to place a grievance under this process, I can live with that too.
I think that's the way it reads right now.
I have a clarifying question for you, Randy.
Sure.
The KEE that we just looked at and will move forward for action, is there something in that process that does not allow a parent to file a complaint or a grievance regarding their students? Because I would imagine most parent complaints are going to
In
be about
theory,
the
no,
student.
there's a difference in my brain, and I think we talked about it this last meeting, between filing a complaint or filing a grievance as a parent and filing a grievance as a parent on behalf of your student. The exhibit, the grievance form is significantly different. The things that you can grieve about as a student are specifically outlined, whereas in KEE, you can grieve about anything. And so I just was trying to allow the parents to grieve on the behalf of the student instead of filing KE. And
do we have anything that limits a parent from grieving? I mean, or filing a complaint on behalf of their child? I don't think there's anything in any of our policies that indicates that. And again, Randy, this strikes me as a specific population of those who have an IEP, and again, to have redress with identifying populations in policy.
well, the problem is, Mac, is, and I explained this last month, was that once a student becomes of age, there are certain things that the parent guardian can no longer do on behalf of that student. And I just want to make sure that those students who don't have the capacity to grieve on their own behalf can have their parents do it for them, whether they are of age or not.
Okay, can you give me an example? Because I'm still not clear in my mind. And I hate to drag this on, but I'm just not clear as to why it's necessary. We have solid.
Between KE and JII are different.
Can you give
Again,
just
can you
one-
give us an example, just one example?
And that example would be when you wouldn't use KE.
Pull up KEE and pull up JIIE and look at them.
I did, and I see that both either a parent or a student can use them. So I'm still in the process of why
But
we're
if you
identifying.
read the original text of JII, there is no mechanism for the parent to use JII. That is specifically a student-only grievance process.
You can actually cite that policy on a parent's complaint, because in other policies, it also says that we will treat all students irregardless of race, creed, etc., equally and equitably, and provide all the
That's,
services.
I think that's AC.
So, you know, I'm not trying, I just don't want to have duplicates, since CASB found some duplicates in our policies. I'm just trying to I'm struggling to find out where you would not use KEE as a parent to file a complaint about something happening with your child. Because right now, most concerns from a parent are going to come because something is not going right for their child in the school, and they're going to complain about it, or the district. I just don't have a duplicate, that's all. But if you feel like there's not, then I'll leave it to you guys to decide.
Well, if both of the grievance processes were identical, then I wouldn't be doing this.
But they all refer back to using ACR or the student complaint form. Parents have the authority and the ability to do both. I'm still struggling with the singling out a group of students. So if you can give me an example that I can fathom in my mind.
If you have a student who, let's say, I don't know, has a severe mental disability, and he's 18 years old, and his parents think that something's going wrong, or that he has legitimate grievance, all I'm asking is for the policy to be changed to allow the parents to follow a JII process instead of KE.
Student over the age of 18.
Because that's a specific thing about the student, not necessarily a general grievance from the community. That's a student-related grievance that the student is mentally incapable of making.
ACR actually does allow for a student over the age of 18
Yes.
to be able to utilize, and it be considered an aggrieved individual. And that's under definition, second paragraph of ACR on the first page.
Yes, I read it.
Does that help cover it, or do we need to change the wording there?
You have some trouble changing ACR because
I think I know where he's going.
Yeah, help out.
When my dad had his heart attack, he had an anoxic brain injury. Therefore, a judge actually deemed him incapable of making business decisions. Well, he had a motorcycle that he loved to ride, and it needed a new battery. So we went down to the local store, and everybody in town knows, it was a small town that we were in, and they sold him a $250 battery for his motorcycle. Best one on the market. Well, we got our money back. And I think that's where Randy's going, is that even though someone's 18 years old, doesn't mean they have the mental capacity, if they are special needs, to make that grievance. So he wants the parents to still be able to grieve, even in that case.
So that's KEE.
And I'm not talking about necessarily a discriminatory type of situation either, which would be invoked for AC. That AC invokes discrimination. I'm not talking about necessarily a discriminatory type of situation.
I had one more comment on
I wish you were here to draw a graphic. You're good at those graphics.
that. You covered it good. We did that 4 or 5 times.
Right.
He wanted to drive his motorcycle, which he couldn't
Okay.
drive anymore.
Well, it's here, it's the motion that's been seconded. Is there any other further discussion? Okay, can we get a call for the vote then?
Mr. Allen?
Nay.
Mr. Lawson?
Aye.
Mr. McPherson?
Nay?
Mr. Swayze?
I can't hear, is it my turn to vote?
No.
No. Done.
Aye.
Now it is.
Aye.
And Mr. Underwood?
Policy passes. That moves us to 9.04, approve policy JK, student discipline, second read. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve JK.
Is there a second?
Give me 1 second, please.
I'll second it.
Open to discussion?
I'm having a really hard time, you guys are dropping off, so I'm gonna assume.
Discussion.
Discussion on JK.
We're doing discussion on JK.
After hearing the impassioned side of the argument from Mrs. Van Alkelstein and Mrs. Moore, I no longer feel the necessity to have this policy either.
Okay. Okay. Is there any other discussion on this? Just to clarify,
Can the rest of us be updated on what you guys discussed?
It was in the meeting, it was in the board meeting.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you were up here and talked to them.
No. So basically what they said is if you invoke this policy or you make this policy change, teachers will be substantially less likely to prior to the discipline process.
I remember
And that is
that.
the exact opposite effect that I'm trying to get here.
okay? So with that, any other discussion? So rather than go through a lot of problems, let's clarify that a nay vote will leave the current policy in effect with no changes. Any other discussion? Hearing none, can I get a call for the vote, please?
Mr. Allen?
Nay.
Mr. Lawson?
Nay.
Mr. McPherson?
Nay.
Mr. Swayze?
Nay.
Mr. Underwood?
Nay.
Okay. That brings us to 9.05. After retreat, we had an opportunity to talk about roads and the maintenance on our buses and some of the things that the county is doing. So I'm going to make a long motion in the process, in the name of a resolution, so I'm going to read this into the record, and then we will need a second if it wants to go forward. Transportation resolution. A resolution expressing the immediate need to repair roads and transportation systems to help maintain safe roads, to ensure vehicles and students are safe while being transported on district transportation vehicles. Whereas District 28 vehicles are in poor condition due to increased wear and tear on our roads and bridges. Whereas District 28's roads are consistently ranked among the county's worst. Whereas there have been serious traffic accidents in District 28 that are linked in part to poor road conditions. Whereas developing effective public transit options in District 28 is a necessary tool for attracting and retaining residents, workers, and businesses. Whereas research shows that people across the nation are choosing communities that offer various modes of transportation, easy access to the places they live, work, and play, and allow them to travel without having to expend high costs on vehicle maintenance. And whereas the district budget for maintenance and repair vehicles is 37.2% of the total transportation budget, and we risk a future fiscal crisis if we do not increase our investment in transportation by decreasing maintenance costs. Whereas currently there are several main thoroughfares of District 28's roads that are ranked as being in extremely poor condition, to include Milne Road, Indian Village Heights, and Boca Raton Heights. Whereas these poor roads directly impact the safety, health, and welfare of the majority of District 28 students. Whereas if properly funded, the percentage of roadways in poor condition would greatly improve. And whereas bringing a road from poor to good pavement condition costs 6 times more than it does to bring a road from fair to good condition. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of Hanover School District Number 28 in the County of El Paso in the State of Colorado that this board urges Governor Hickenlooper, the El Paso County Board of Commissioners, and District 28 legislators to make necessary investments to District 28's transportation network to save taxpayer dollars, save lives, and improve our economy.
Can I clap? Can I clap?
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay.
It's no fair, I was on mute.
I'll read it again. Resolution. Okay. Discussion.
One later.
Did you take mine and take the hands off? There's still one on the 5th and the 9th, and then we need to add an and to the very last whereas.
I left those in there intentional.
Okay.
If that's okay, just
Okay,
those
no, that's
two, I
fine.
took all the others off.
Well, as long as we knew they were intentional, I
Yeah.
just didn't want them to be
Those
missed
were
and
intentional.
overlooked.
Okay. I took all the others that you recommended and put those in.
Any other recommendation is, because if we're talking about resolutions, can we, as a district, get a guideline of how we're gonna write them from here on out?
Sure.
Everyone has a guideline if you write them, so I would like a format that we can all follow, so we're all on the same sheet of.
This was an effort of
whereases.
all the board members. We winged it, one of us drafted it, and then everybody else sent information back. And this is what we came up with. So, is there any other discussion?
I just have one question, actually clarification, that as we read this and move forward with this, hopefully, that road improvements are not only limited to the 3 roads
Yes.
mentioned. I just wanted everybody to
Yeah,
understand,
Well-
we're not just talking about 3 roads.
But they also have to
We're-
understand that they're public roads, not the private roads
Right,
that are on the
right,
other side of the
exactly.
interstate. I know you guys got a PID behind your district, and once them roads get up, I know we talked about getting bus service to go down one, but my understanding is they're not there yet, so
Right.
that's
They're
something that
working
you
on
guys
those.
on the other side have to work on.
They're already
And-
working
and
on
Dave,
them.
can I say the fire department's looking at the same thing? Yeah, as far as, you know, the quicker response times and stuff like that, for the PIDs, what did the chief say, a 5? 510 out of, from a 910 to a 510? I believe is what I last read.
That's been released yet.
And you're jacking all
I
your
thought he
vehicles
did.
up like 5 feet.
He actually did, because he wrote it.
I just wanted to be
He
clear
wrote
that
it
we
in the
all
neighborhood
understand,
page.
it's public roads and not limited to just
Yeah,
east.
it's not the private roads. We can't do anything with, we can't force the state or county to do that. That's where the PIDs, and again, there's one behind Tambra's, the PPIR. I believe Tambra sits on the board. Get with her, figure out how to write one. It helps with your fire expenses, it helps with the school, it helps with everything. Again, you guys have probably been reading the neighborhood page. You saw what the chief wrote. You know, that's gonna hit your insurance. So all these PIDs that you're putting in, yeah, you're putting money into them, but your insurance is coming down, maintenance on the buses is going down, better transportation routes are long, you know, picking people up instead of having to drive to PPIR. That's all I wanna say on this. It's a great resolution. I'm happy to be part of it. I hope it works.
And as soon as the election's over, call that new commissioner right away. All of us.
Yeah, I'll be on him.
Especially if it's an Air Force retired dude.
Any
Yeah,
other
don't,
discussion?
he's out at the breakfast every month.
Right, right.
Our house rep will be there this Longinus.
Yeah, because
Right, one date's
honestly,
coming up.
every time my road washes
Just met with him
out,
last week.
and I have to bring Shane up to school because the bus can't get down there, and that is a
That's
public
That's a
road.
public road, so
Mine's a public road, and they will not fix it
once
to where
every
it
three,
stops washing out.
once every 3 or 4 months.
Yeah,
All right, so, any other discussion?
did it?
Can I get a call for the vote then, please?
Mr. Allen?
Aye.
Mr. Lawson?
Aye.
Mr. McPherson?
Aye.
Mr. Swayze?
Aye.
Mr. Underwood?
Okay, Randy, this has 5 signatures on it because it's coming from the whole board. So we will sign it and leave it with Tambra or Grant, since you live on the other side of the highway. And as soon as you sign it, then we'll get copies forwarded to the governor, the governor's office, the Board of Commissioners, and each District 28 legislator.
Okay, I'll sign it as soon as I can when I get back.
All right, sir, thank you very much. With that, that brings us to information updates. Do we have any more information from the information updates that people want to chat about? The DAC is meeting next week, yes? We look forward to hearing from you at the next meeting, see how things went. Anything, comments, ladies, gentlemen?
Is Cindy still here?
Cindy had to go.
Wait, did we have business yet?
No.
Cindy had to go to get stuff ready.
I'll get with Cindy to see where she's at on the hydroponic stuff with the state or county coming in.
I have a question for you, TJ, after, about lighting in the gym. I just want to see that. Is all.
I'll add some. In my board report, if you read it, there was a possibility of Prairie Heights Kitchen having a major problem with a drain. They were able to clear it, the pipes are not broken. So that's an update to my,
It's an update to your update, and I have a question to your update. I noticed on here that we have 2 buses that are no longer being utilized.
Correct.
Is there any way we can put them up for auction?
Well,
Go ahead. I'll let him answer.
it's one of those things I'd like to see if this MLO passes. If the MLO passes, then I have a bus replacement plan, and then I can easily get rid of those buses. If the MLO does not pass, the only option I got is to get those buses up and running. And I can't throw away that, I don't want to call it an ace in the hole, it's not. It's gonna cost.
I've always been wanting a project to turn into an RV.
No, believe me, those buses are just sucking up some time, or sucking up space, but I don't wanna do it until I find out whether we have replacements.
Couldn't we use those for like a band bus or a
Right now,
football bus? Or
right,
are
they do not work.
maintenance? Oh, okay.
They are not being used because it's gonna cost an exorbitant amount of money to get them working again.
About a half.
Transmissions out or what?
Tornado shelter. Bury them in the ground.
Engine problems. When I say $5,000 to $8,000 on one bus, and I don't want to spend that kind of money.
I wouldn't need none cheaper.
But if that's the only choice I have, if we don't get any
It's there.
if we don't have an MLO, we're might gonna have to suck up that get one of those buses up.
Well, it's cheaper than a new bus.
It is. So lots riding on this MLO.
Okay.
I'm good with that. I just
Anything
saw them
else?
on there and I was.
All right, if you remember, we moved the consent agenda item 6.0 to this point. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
Make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Allen?
Aye.
Mr. Lawson?
Aye.
Mr. McPherson?
Aye.
Mr. Swayze?
Aye.
Mr. Underwood?
Aye.
You should whisper something that would make him do, and then do it loud.
Did you say the business?
You can say aye.
No, he hasn't called it yet, he's just
Is there
making you wait.
is there a motion for other business? I'm sorry, the superintendent was indicating that we should.
Yeah.
Well, no,
We're now at other business.
Go ahead, Randy.
When you get to other business, I'd like to, make a motion that, next month, we place on the agenda a policy that I would like, that talks about how, things get onto the agenda more clearly than where we are now in policy.
You know, Randy, that's covered in law, so I would, I mean, we can do that, but again, it is covered in law. So I would encourage you to look, and I'm gonna try and quote it. You know what, I'm not gonna quote it.
He did have a motion, so he called for a second to discuss it, and he did say, I make a motion.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I apologize.
Oh, you're good.
I missed that one, it's getting late. Is there a second?
Sorry, Randy, you didn't get a second.
Hearing no second, the motion dies.
Seriously? Oh, man.
Okay. So, with that, is there a
Nope.
motion? Oh, is there more?
We cut the community off when we were talking about everything that's available to the students as far as educational, and I got it written down, otherwise I would have forgot too.
Okay.
So, I would like to see, is it in the current handbook? I've read it, I didn't see where it lists what we have available to us. The parents come in every year and sign their kids up for school. It's their responsibility to read that handbook. If you don't read it, it's your own fault.
It's not, because it was put in after that handbook was handed out to the students.
Right, so is there a way that we can do a mid-year update or an update to it?
Am I
if there's a
wrong, Miss
major
Ben?
change?
listed in there, but honestly, unless you know kind of what it is, it might be, you know, like concurrent.
Stand
There's
over.
some people who might not know what concurrent is.
Do you have a course catalog?
No, we do not, but we are working on it.
Okay, because most, as you're well aware of, that actually covers, because course catalog gives by grade level, it gives actually by subject, by grade level. You know, if we've got welding courses, these are available. I mean, you could add welding available at so-and-so, and then list the courses underneath it,
And
as
that's
well
what-
as AVP courses, which are now concurrent enrollment. Those are those programs that are available. And you would list the programs, because the number of courses under each program
It's
is
ridiculous.
way too long. I mean, there's like, you know, there's 8 courses for criminal justice in the first year alone, you know, 4 and 4. So it's, but that's kind of what we can do, is put that together. Yes, ma'am.
What is the current policy for when concurrent schooling can happen?
Juniors and
Is it
seniors.
junior, does it say junior and senior, or
Specifically
are
says
we
juniors and
following
seniors.
this? Because
No.
some years we seem to
No,
just
I
let seniors do it, some years it's junior, seniors.
We
You
had
know-
requested at the end of last year, and I believe you guys had approved that, is if they were qualified, if a student is qualified, regardless of their age, that they would be able to do that. And I
Policy
believe
doesn't
it
state
was, it was changed.
The regulation, that's why I wanted to change the
But then the
policy.
regulation is in violation of the policy. So we have a regulation that's in violation of our policy now. Policy specifically says 11th and 12th grade. And our handbook says 11th and 12th grade.
That's why I wanted to change it. That's why I was trying to change it on there, to change it so we,
And that regulation
I am
was approved by
definitely
this
stirring the
board
pot.
back in May or June. So I wish we would have all been eyes on deck on that.
Well, yeah, I would just like to be prepared as a parent, because, I mean, this is, my kid's kind of smart, and he kind of, you know, I mean, I'm not saying it does, but I don't know enough about this in order to make a just decision whether I want him to go to Ellicott to be a welder,
Well, here's the
or
great
go
news,
to college.
is I was directed by the board to respond to them in the next 3 to 4 days about that information to inform his request of an edit in the policy. And that was in that first read. So we'll have that information. And then, as I mentioned before for you guys, we will have the course catalog, and all registration is going to happen in the spring, so when kids leave, they
That'd be
know
perfect.
ahead of time. And at that time, of course, there'll be some adjustments depending on enrollment coming in the next year. That's how all high schools operate. But at that time, we should have a full-blown course catalog for people to look at, whether it's just one that sits in the front office, but we need to have that, so everyone sees. But, Danelle?
Well, and I already have on the schedule, and I did tell the community members at that meeting, that I will also have a parent night, well, probably a couple parent nights to discuss what these options are, so that people understand what concurrent is, or what the vocational side of it is, and what the requirements are for each program, because
And when we do this spring thing, is it gonna be the, just like, every year I get it sent home, is there any changes, no, send it back? Or are we gonna actually come in and let's have a discussion, an open discussion, what's Shane's class, you know? And I always use Shane, because, you know, he's a pretty rotten kid and I can beat on him. But, you know, I mean, that's the thing that we need to look at is, you know, are we getting parents involved? And that's honestly, I think, part of our problem. As parents, I have no clue what my kid's taking. Last year he took 2 sciences, this year he's taking 1 and 2 maths, or whatever, you know,
Parents
that's,
don't approve the schedules?
no.
No. I didn't, 2 years I was here either. Well, actually, the 4 years I had kids here.
And we're getting closer, which, and might I say that I really appreciate what the district's done. The 2 meetings for the parents, that's more than we've ever gotten in this district. So I would like, as a parent, to say kudos to the superintendent, because he did it well-rounded, and it was kept level, and it was kept civil. So as a parents, we do appreciate that. All of us do say that that's something that could go on his, what is it, thing on the end of the year? His evaluation. My brain doesn't always work. That's a kudos from the community, because everyone I spoke to, and there was probably 50 people there, actually enjoyed the ability to get that done, and it was well ran. So we appreciate that.
What we will do then is, you know, probably already on top of this, so I'm making some assumptions because we haven't had a long discussion on details. But we will make sure we look at all the things we know are concerns of parents and incorporate it, so we hope we address all the concerns in this one adjustment by having registration in the spring. So we'll talk, and then we have to have conversations about the graduation guideline, the graduation policy still. And so that will certainly be a place for that conversation as well, is for when the community comes to talk about those things, that we can talk about that as well. And those conversations are coming up, honestly, it probably won't be until January because of the way the calendar runs from now till Christmas time. And yes, I can say Christmas, we had that discussion. And so I don't want anybody to think we're not taking action if we wait till January.
I think it's a good time, because that's right when everything's starting to look forward to the next semester.
So we will do our best to make all those things.
Okay, is there any other business?
Motion to adjourn?
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion.
Second? All in favor?
I didn't hear a second.
We are ending at 8:59.
And if you recorded the debate, I will give you a spoiler alert, the candidates did not shake hands at the end tonight.
Gee, that's a shocker.
Just came across on my alert.
Dalton might be listening to that.
Wow, I can't believe they did that.
Yeah, gave me instructions.
I didn't even think that was over.
Friday week.